Okay. Go. Hello and welcome back to Espresso with Saul. Okay, today I'm going to talk to you about my upgraded truck firearm system. You know, several months back I was working with Roy on some videos. I think the crew and we were talking about our packs, and then we also had some discussions about truck vehicle or truck firearms, or you know, car firearms, things that we had to upgrade what it is that we were carrying on ourselves, or just something in addition to what we typically carry. Well, what I typically carry is a Sig Sauer P365. You guys have all seen that before, but I didn't want to throw a firearm into my truck and just leave it there. You know, I used to have a gun rack in a pickup truck. I don't have that anymore. I you know, would worry about somebody hefting a brick through my window and running off with it nowadays, as opposed to what we used to be able to live with way back in the day. I noticed that there were these things called braces and different systems, extensions that you could add to your firearms. Now, typically these braces were for people who were handicapped, and it was to help them to be able to shoot one-handed, where you'd strap the brace onto your arm, and it would allow them to be able to fire it easier and more accurately. Well, the ATF said that that was okay, and then they decided to backtrack on it, and it's been back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, while they were back and forth, that's kind of when I started noticing them and thought, and initially I thought it was a gimmick, and I looked into it a little bit more, and I thought, well, that actually sounds like a fantastic way for me to have a truck gun, because the P365 is a base system for more than one of these brace systems, for lack of a better term. On my last video, I showed you the Flux Raider, and I also talked about why it wouldn't be my truck gun. Well, I kept looking, and I found this. This is an MCK, or micro conversion kit. Now, yes, the red dot and the sights here, they're all separate. As a matter of fact, you know, you can add on a harness here, or sling, whatever you want to call it. And also, they have this flashlight that slides right in here. Now, I have not fired this much, just enough to sight this in. And while I was doing so, the flashlight fell out. Fell out twice. So maybe don't worry about the flashlight so much. A little bit disappointed about that. But the neat thing about this system is it folds up like so. And I wrap it in a towel. I have all of this cool stuff with me, and I just have it in the truck ready to go, including this big batch of 9mm ammo. And I already am carrying my P365 with a 10 and a 12 round magazine anyway. So we have plenty of ammo for this system in order to upgrade it. Now, let me show you how this works. Come on over here a little bit closer. We have the red dot. We have the pop-up sights. I actually have not lined up the iron sights yet. I will probably do that back at home base. So you take this, you make sure that's back all the way. Then you take your P365 and you simply take it and insert it into the system. Okay, is that back all the way? Certainly feels like it. And then you take it and you shove it forward like so. So it's seated forward all the way. You take this and push it forward, and then your firearm is locked in place. Now, 21 round magazine right here, and another 21 round magazine. You can, as opposed to the Flux Raider that I showed you last week, you can still use your 10 and 12 round magazine with this also. So that's what this looks like. Now, I will also tell you, there may be a little bit of a break-in period with these because these are kind of a polymer plastic, and it's going to need to work it in order for it to work properly. So when I loaded it the first time, I fired one round, and then it kind of didn't cycle, and it didn't cycle for 2 rounds, and then I finally got it working again, and I've had to play with it just a little bit. Now, the other thing, when I was sighting it in, I noticed that it was very dirty on the outside of this firearm. So what I've done is I made sure to add a bunch of extra gun oil on the interior of the 365, and then I've also oiled it up on the outside of this section right here that the slide inserts into. So hopefully that will make it run a little bit better, and hopefully this will be a viable system. This is what I've chosen for now, but it can tell me differently just by not working very well. So I've got my fingers crossed. Let's take it over here and see how it works, and see if this is going to be my viable truck firearm system. You know, crossed my mind that I neglected to show you a couple other small features here on this MCK. The front magazine release is right here. It's a little bit tight, and like the Flux Raider, I'm going to need to be practicing with these and probably breaking them in just a little bit to loosen them up. And then the other thing is, for rack and the slide, it does have ambidextrous slide racks right here. So that is kind of a neat feature. Also, today we are going to be shooting Remington green and white box 115 grain full metal jacket, and I also have some Winchester 115 grain if I happen to run out. So we'll be bouncing back and forth between the two. All right, now let's step on over and see how this runs. You know, there is one thing I neglected to do, and it's going to take some getting used to with this, but if you're going to insert the firearm in there, the safety, if you're using one with a safety, is not readily accessible. So make sure when you put it into the system that the safety is ready to go and not on. Otherwise, you're going to have to take it all apart when you really need to use it. So another reason, other than breaking this thing in, to take it out and run it through its paces, so you know exactly what to expect when you're out there ready to use it. All right, now let's get over here and see how it runs. Okay, if you saw last week's Flux Raider edition, I have high expectations for this. Hopefully I can throw it in the back of my truck and call it good. All right, let's see how it runs. Okay, just had an issue, and the issue wasn't with the MCK. The issue was with the P365, and apparently it does not like these Winchester 115 grain full metal jackets. Let me show you why. Take a look at this. This is the Winchester, and it has more of a flat nose, and it also seems to be maybe slightly longer than the standard Remington green and white box. So I'm not going to call anything out on this MCK because, quite frankly, it's been running quite well with the standard Remingtons. But if you happen to have this for your P365, you might not want to use them, or at least test them out and make sure yours runs, because mine certainly doesn't like them. All right, well, I will be using some full metal jackets. I'm going to go with some Sig Sauer Elite Performance. These are 124 grain, but they're the same darn shape, and I don't expect to have any issues that I had with the Winchester ammo. So give me just a minute, and maybe we'll finally be back to shooting over there. Okay, maybe we're finally ready to see how it really runs with the correct ammo. Not sure why we had those issues, but it may simply be that this thing needs a little bit more oil in it, or it may be that it just needs broken in a little bit, or maybe it didn't like those hollow points. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. This magazine right here is a standard 115 grain, and I got to tell you, I chose to burn up that 124 grain hollow points simply because I don't typically have 124 grain hollow points. I have a carbine that doesn't like anything but 115 grain, so I thought, well, shoot, I'll just burn through those. Now, I don't know if it's the MCK or it's my pistol that doesn't like the 124s, nor the Winchester. You know, this is a mixed bag here. I almost need to take the pistol out and verify that it doesn't like the 124 and it doesn't like the Winchester. So we may do that after this, but let's see, can I get at least one magazine to work with this? Well, that magazine certainly functioned just fine. However, my shooting wasn't perfect. I'm going to tell you before I load up these other two magazines, I don't know that I have this perfectly sighted in. I actually want to get back farther than what I'm able to at this point in time. I'm at a very short range right now, more of a handgun range, and I'd really like to take this out to about 100 and see where we're at, because this red dot, or green dot I should say, is on a riser, and it's kind of like what an AR-15 or an M16 sight will do. They sight in slightly different than you would with the standard handgun red dot, because it sits just a little bit higher and it creates a little bit more of an arc. And so I actually have to aim towards the top of the target. And the other thing is this red dot on this sight is a little bit small. And I don't, you know, originally I thought I didn't like the Romeo on the flux radiator that I used last week. But I'm thinking I might change this one out right here. So we got one magazine to work. Is this the way to go? Not sure yet. Let's try this again, shall we? All right, I'm through screwing around with ammo. I went back to Remington green and white box. Now this is UMC jacketed hollow points, but they're almost identical in shape to the full metal jackets. And I don't typically have an issue with those. So let's see if this still actually works or if I need to throw this away. All right. Well, there was a failure to feed. One failure to feed. Huh. Don't know what to think. Let's go ahead, run this last magazine through it, see what we have here. I don't know why I can't seem to hit that angle right there, but interesting. Targets are all wonky. Now I'm not hitting where with this. Huh. All right. Well, at least I can hit the clanger. Let's go over and talk about this at the table, shall we? Okay, well, that was certainly a frustrating video to make. So, in order to get over it, why don't we have a shot of espresso and talk about it? But before we do that, you know, I thought I'd make note to you and to family members that you may or may not have heard this, but Paul's close friend Greg passed away. I believe it was on the 5th, 1 year and 1 day after Paul did. It was a surprise to everyone, and you know, say a prayer or give thoughts and prayers to his family during this time. I'd already had the beans ground, and the beans were ground, okay, they were at a number 7 grind for 11.2 seconds. Check this out. Here's to Greg. That certainly hit the spot. Okay. Well, I gotta tell you, typically when I get ready to make these videos, I have an idea on what direction that they're gonna take. And even when they don't go in a specific direction that I think they're gonna go, you know, you can kind of see it coming at least and be able to predict it. Well, this video, nothing went right. Everything went wrong. There was no flow to it. Now, I could just discard the video and try and do a new one, but I'm not going to do that. I think we can learn from this, and I think we can just take this for what it's worth, and you guys can use this as information for a decision here in the future if you are thinking about looking into these MCKs. Now, I don't think they're as high of a quality as the Flux Raider that I had previous week, but I don't think they're complete garbage either. I don't really know exactly what to make of them. Could be user error on my part. Obviously, some of the ammo we were using wasn't the best for it or my firearm. And you know, typically when I do these videos, the ammo that I have is ammo that I've used, and typically works pretty well. Now, the Winchester, that is actually a fresh box. I think I got half of a brick. I've got 500 rounds of that. I ended up with a great deal on it, and I picked it up. I didn't realize those full metal jackets were actually, you know, flat nose full metal jackets. And they do seem to make a difference with some of my firearms, at least. So, did I find my new truck gun? I don't think so. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. I think I actually have to do more testing with it. And I think what I really need to do is, because that's a polymer plastic frame that you get with it, I think really what it needs is to have a few more rounds shot through it, just to kind of smooth all the edges out. I may be completely mistaken, and it may just be trash, but I'm not ready to throw it away just yet. I'm going to run it through a few more paces, and I'll let you know what I decide here in the future. So I hate to leave you guys hanging on that note, but I don't know what else to tell you. It seemed like a really cool idea, and it might still be. I'll let you know here in the coming weeks and months. So please stay tuned, and thanks for watching Espresso with Saul. Bye-bye now.